Hey, how are you guys? This is Tony Giddens, director of the Washington, DC International Film Festival. Thank you so much for joining us. And this year, we're doing a special focus on films made by Washington, DC filmmakers, films that many of them were shot here in our city. This year, there's been just so many great films by our talented filmmaking community. So we put it together in a little package we call DC for Real, REEL. You can find out all about our film festival at filmfestdc.org. I was watching films, trying to select films for the film festival, and came across the film that we're going to be talking about today. I'd like to introduce you to the director of the film. His name is Harold Jackson III. Harold, how are you doing, man?
I'm good. How are you, Tony?
Very good. I was saying, how much I liked your film. I came across it, and it was so unlike many of the other films that we get in for the festival, and especially films that we get from Washington, D.C. filmmakers, which tend to be polemic, try to deal with politics. All good, all good. But yours was such a well-produced, well-acted, well thought-out dramatic film that we really wanted to include it in our festival this year. So thank you so much for making the film. Could we start by you just telling us a bit about you?
Yeah. Well, first, thank you for accepting the film to the festival. These things are really important for us as filmmakers to help get the word out and to just start the general buzz for the film, and to help it be as successful as possible. So I guess a little bit about me. I'm originally from California. I've been in the DMV or DC for over a decade now, and I've produced several films here, and I've sort of become kind of a second home for me. So I appreciate the beauty of the city. I appreciate both the artistic side and the political side of the city, the culture, even the way it's changing to the way it was, the way it is now. All these things are just really interesting to me. So I've sort of grown to love DC as a second home.
And you came here to go to school, right? You went.
I came here for a job, actually. I spent a few years doing government training videos. So
really?
Yeah, I was a producer for a while, doing government training videos, and then that kind of ran its course. And now while I was doing that, I was making films and going back and forth to LA and just trying to maximize every option I could. And then it became a bit of a strain to try to stay inside of the 9-to-5 space and and create in the way I wanted to create. So I eventually moved on from that, and now this is what I do. I make films for a living. It's going great, and life is good.
Congratulations! Not everybody is able to make that jump so cleanly. But where did you go to school to learn to be a filmmaker?
So I got my undergrad at a small university in Pennsylvania called Kutztown University. And it was an Amish country, which was interesting.
Okay.
And then I got my master's here in DC at American University in film.
Yeah, they have a good film school there.
They're really good.
The people who teach there, I don't know as many as in the past, but I know a number of filmmakers who've come out of there and talked about what a good experience it's been for them.
It was a great experience for me. I enjoyed myself. I learned a lot. It was well worth it. So shout out to American University.
All right, yeah. They need you at Howard too, but that's another conversation. So why did you want to become a filmmaker? I mean, there were a lot of options to you, it seemed.
Yeah, I don't know if I ever I think I wanted to be a filmmaker before I even knew what it was, or before I even knew it was a thing. I tell people all the time that I have one brother, but I have a very large extended family, so I have a ton of cousins and uncles, all that sort of stuff. And when I was growing up, it was a thing for everyone to meet over one particular person's house. In our case, it was our grandmother's house, and we had something called it's not called that, but back then people would just visit without calling or just come over, and then everybody would go over to someone's house, and it was my grandmother's house, and we would all. And one of the things we did together was watch TV and watch movies. And if you can imagine, that's those images you remember. If you've seen them, I'm sure of these families sort of gathered around the radio back when.
Oh yeah.
And that kind of imagery is what I remember from my childhood. It's just a lot of people. There wasn't enough seats for everyone, so the kids would have to sit on the floor, and we'd all watch, movies or things like, the Cosby Show. And so that I think that even though I'm a relatively quiet person, my family isn't. So, so I think even as a child, I loved what film and television and storytelling can do to people. It can bring out all kinds of emotions and take people on journeys to different places. So I think I always wanted to do that, and the best medium to do that is in film. So I think I was naturally born a filmmaker or a storyteller.
Did you used to put on little plays with your family? I've talked to filmmakers who said that, their sister played this role and they got their little brother to play that role.
No, because I was one of the younger of our sort of tribe growing up. Uh-huh. So no one would listen to me. I ended up trying to make me do acting, and acting's not my thing. So it was just like, let's just leave him alone. He doesn't want to do it. In my mind, I would make movies, but no one. I felt like Rodney Dangerfield. I get
no respect. Well, that's good, man. Well, obviously your family brought you up well, and you have enough confidence to make it in a tough world out there in Los Angeles. That's a tough place, Yeah.
It was interesting. I grew up in South Central Los Angeles, which at the time was a very interesting place. I think we all know the history of it, especially during the time I grew up. Mm-hmm. But even though it was a certain way, I still have a ton of just beautiful memories of growing up, even under those circumstances. So, life is one of those things where you it's all about perspective and just choosing the way you want to see the world.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's talk a little bit about the film now. And folks who are watching this, we're going to talk about the film. So, we might get a little bit too detailed for you if you haven't.
We'll get to that. We'll get to the film. Trust us.
We're going to try. So, I want to ask you how you got to the script about it, but you directed the film, you produced the film. You wrote the script for the film. That's a lot of responsibility, a lot of work that you took on to make this happen. Good for you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's kind of par for the course nowadays, especially in the self-producing or independent film space. You have to have enough confidence in yourself and your work to get out there and put some skin in the game and do what you need to do to get it out there. Because the truth is I read other people's scripts sometimes, and you don't always see another person's vision. So I accept that. If I present you, Tony, with the script and you're a potential investor, I accept the fact that even though I know this can be a good production and it can be monetized and it can be entertaining and it can be all these things, I accept the fact that you may not see it. So there does come a point where there can come a point where you know, the rubber sort of meets the road, and it's, what are you going to do? Are you gonna wait around for another 2 years until someone until you can convince someone to do it for you, or are you going to do it yourself? And I've always landed on getting it done. It's
Uh-huh.
more than getting it perfect.
Uh, that's something to keep in mind. And,
Yeah.
and the theme of the film, what the film is about, is, you know, Liam White, who is dying. So it's a film about a man who has, what does he have, like 6 weeks, a couple of months or something?
He gets 3 to 6 months to live in his life. That's sort of the diagnosis from the oncologist that he gets.
And so on face value, you see that story and you say, oh man, well, I don't know. But there's something about it that's not depressing. You know, there's something about the film and the character and the way you've handled his wife and his life and the people around him. It is not a depressing film. Good for you, man. That's a tough. I was like, how did you get to that?
Yeah, you know, I wanted to write a film about life, not necessarily about that.
Uh-huh.
That's an important distinction, and as to why, you know, I'm glad you feel that way. That it's not sort of a Debbie Downer kind of film, because it's about life. It's about you know, accepting life, living life, reconciling, you know, with people and with yourself, and coming to terms with how you've lived and how you wish you would have lived and how you want to live, and seeing the beauty in the things that you don't think are necessarily uh, uh, good at the time. You know, when faced with retrospect, you realize, no, that was a wonderful, wonderful experience that I had, even though it was unpleasant at the moment. It was something that helped shape me and bring me and push me to a different state in my life. And it's really, you know, I don't want to give too much away, but it's really a story about life, one, and two, transitioning to a different stage of life. Mm-hmm. So it's not. So it's one of those things where you say, in order to be the person you want to be, at some point you have to get rid of the person that you are. Mm. And it's more that story than it is about a man dying. It's you know, a man dying is sort of, you almost forget he's dying at some point. Mm-hmm. And you sort of get engaged in his life.
And then you slide some humor in there every once in a while, so, to lighten it. You know,
yeah, I think it's hilarious, man. I don't know. I think it's a funny movie.
And he knows what's going on, but most of the people around him don't know what he's facing and why he's there talking to them and being with them in the way he's being with them. Only his girlfriend seems to know.
Yeah, some people he's told completely. Some people only know half the story. Some people don't know at all.
Yeah.
So it's really, it feels like life that way. Like, you know, even though as an audience we know all the information, but there's things that get unresolved, things that do get resolved, but not in a way that you're used to seeing them be resolved, or how you would want them to be resolved. And that's kind of how life is. Like, you know, you may have a blow up with a friend, and then years later you're friends again, but that thing that blew up was never truly resolved. But we decided, you know, we're just going to move on because we'd rather be friends than not, you know. Yeah, so it's true to life that.
Well, I mean, you're a young man. I mean, you're a young man, and
all right.
Well, you know,
that works for you, you know.
Well, it's like, or you're younger than me. I'll put it that way. We can start from that. That could be the comparison. And how you would come to that kind of insight, why you would want to tell that story, since it is your story. I mean, you wrote the script,
right?
You know? I mean, you had endless kinds of possible choices for themes that you could pick, and you picked this one. You picked this one, and you had to have a lot of insight into what that would be like to die. You know, I know that you're going to die. It's really interesting, because it's not like the guy, but he knows he's going to die, and you can't in watching it, I couldn't help but ask myself, if I was in that situation, how would I react? But somehow you were able to capture all that again as a young person. And as far as I know, you know, with no experience of that I know of.
Yeah, no, I haven't. But you know, a couple things. One, he. It is interesting because a lot of it is not necessarily, even though I wrote it, it's not necessarily what I would do. And it's interesting to say, well, what if he wakes up one day and he decides, I'm not even gonna think about it. I'm just gonna, you know, I'm just gonna decide I'm not dying today, and I'm gonna live my life that way. What does that look like? And what happens on the day that he wakes up, where it's just everything is on top of him, and he can't catch a break, and he can't get a moment to breathe without this sort of cloud looming over him. So there's so many different emotions that I imagine someone would go through in that particular situation. However, um, the experience, the connection that I do have with that character is the idea that this film is really, for me, the end for me was it's about transitioning to a different stage of life, you know. And at that particular time that I wrote it, I was transitioning out of sort of the safety net of working into new relationships, into being married, into being a husband, and into being a different sort of person that I didn't know. So in essence, I was getting rid of the old person that I was, who some parts of it I liked, some parts of it I didn't, some parts of it I loved. But in order to transition into a different space, you have to sort of get rid of all those things, and keep the few things that are important, but get rid of the things that aren't going to help you in this new space. And it's about that. And there's times where, you know, during that transition, you sort of, you question yourself. Should I leave this place? Should I go to this place? What am I doing? I don't have everything lined up. What am I thinking? You know, and you sort of, and you go, well, it was better back then. And then you sort of smarten up and you realize, no, it wasn't. That's the reason you're moving. So I understood the ebbs and flows of being afraid of transitioning to a different stage of life. And I think that was the end for me to tell the story.
Well, it's helpful. It's helpful also in understanding, as a viewer, understanding the film and what you were aiming at, how it was more than the guy just dying, way more than that. So that's very helpful. So then you had the idea for the film. I'm not going to go into the raising the money part, but you had to gather a team. You had to get your actor, your lead actor, supporting cast to do all the things that you had to do to get this thing moving. And some of the folks that you have in the film just are so striking. They're so good. Sean Woodland, who I got to say I didn't know before seeing this film, and he carries it. You know, he carries the film, and he's so good, man. Tell us about him. I hadn't seen him. I don't remember seeing him in anything.
Yeah, I was doing a film years ago, probably about 5 years ago now, 4 years, maybe a little less than that. And I put out feelers for auditions, and he did a video submission for the film, and the film didn't never materialize. But then I moved into a different film, and I casted him in that. And I think we just have he's just a really good guy, you know, and he's a good actor, and I think we kind of understand each other, or maybe he just understands what I need of him, one of the two. And I think we've developed into having a good relationship as director and actor, and as even you know, as friends at this point. And I think he has so much untapped potential, and you know, it was one of those things where I believe in him. I always have, and when this film came to mind, I didn't really entertain anyone else for the job. I kind of knew he was going to do it.
Yeah.
And it all worked out, so I'm happy.
Oh, that's good. And then you got another actor who I recognized. I think I've seen him before. T.C. Carson.
Yeah, T.C. Carson.
and he seemed familiar to me, but again, I couldn't be specific where I saw him.
Yeah, TC Carson is a very, very talented actor and singer, and he kind of came into public light in during a sitcom in the '90s called Living Single.
Yeah, okay, which
Yeah,
is yeah.
he played Cal Barker, who was one of the more memorable cast members of the show, and he's just grown into one of those sort of Renaissance men who can act and host TV and do Broadway, and then do comedy, and then do drama, and he's just an incredible talent all the way around. And when I approached him with it, he read it and he liked it, and he said, "Yeah, let's do it." So we did it.
And you approached Jasmine Guy.
I did.
Yeah. What was it like deciding she was going to be the one?
Just it was one of those things where when it was time to cast the film, we said, we need somebody who's gonna hit a home run for the mother.
Yeah,
that's what we need. And we started thinking about people, and then one of the other producers sort of said, it would be really nice, Jasmine Guy. And then as soon as he said it, it was like, yeah, that's the mother. What are we wasting our time for? So we went and we approached Jasmine Guy's management, and they were gracious enough to connect us or to get her the script, and she loved it. And it was, she's just an absolute sweetheart. She came, very, very loving and professional and helpful to, she's been around for a long time and done some really great work. And she was just very gracious with the younger actors who were on set, and not only giving them professional sort of love. She was very gracious, and just by talking with them and walking around and being the sort of professional actor that she is, giving them sort of insight into how to move forward in the industry and how to carry themselves in the industry. So it was one of those things where we got not only an incredible performance out of her, the actors got a wealth of knowledge. The production was lifted because of her, and it was one of those things where there was nothing negative to speak about when it came to Jasmine and the film.
Great team. It's a great team, man. All good, the other characters, his girlfriend and his other girlfriend and the therapist, and that was really good to see folks acting in a script in a story they feel very positive about. You could tell they wanted to be there and they wanted it to work.
Yeah. I want to make sure I shout out a few of the other actors. Yeah. A woman out of Baltimore. She's a singer and an actor. Her name is Brave Williams. She was great in the film. Karan Joseph Riley was also really good in the film. Tasha Grant was wonderful in the film. Sasha Wakefield was really nice in the film. So we were, we kind of hit at every turn. So we were smiled upon. So I'm really excited and happy to get people to see it.
And you shot in DC. I was watching, and I said, I know where that is. That's home.
They're over there on K Street.
K Street, right?
Yeah.
And you shot. It was cold. You shot it during COVID, didn't you? Because there was a reference on one of the. I think the father was watching something on TV about COVID.
Yeah,
so he told me when you were shooting it.
Yeah, I thought we shot it during the pandemic while we were on not on lockdown, but while we shot it in October of 2020.
Really?
So it's sort of in the heart of things.
That was the heart, man. That's when it was happening.
Yeah, we just kind of muscled through. We did all the COVID precautions. We we took every precaution necessary to keep everyone safe. We masked, the whole deal. And we just kind of pushed through. Everyone was tested, and we just kind of muscled through. So it was an interesting experience. And then in the film, you see these sort of references to the pandemic time, and then George Floyd.
Yes,
And
right.
you know, we not it's not very heavy-handed, but I thought honestly, I thought especially since it's not just this sort of escapist, you know, comedy or horror movie that, you know, it's a movie about life. So I thought it would be irresponsible for us to just pretend that these uh, country shaping events aren't happening, you know, and that everybody's walking around like it's all good, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and so we wanted to, I wanted to make sure we were honest about the world that that we were living in at the time of making it, and hopefully that adds an extra layer of something to the production.
Mm-hmm. Well, that worked also. And then there's the score. There's a little piano piece that I would hum, but would make everybody turn it off, right? We're not going to do that. So, but there's a little piano piece that comes up every once in a while. That
Mhm.
just a few notes, and then he changes the chords. He does a chord thing on it.
Right.
Maybe you know what I'm talking about. But
Yeah, I hear the musician in you coming out. Yeah.
yeah, right, right. Oh well, there's a little bit of that. My father was a musician. That's another story,
Yeah, there
right?
you go. There you go.
But I couldn't help but listening to that and appreciating it every time it came up. So the musicians who helped you with that score, unless you also not only directed, produced, and wrote it, you also did the score.
No, no, no.
Okay.
Didn't do the score. Uh, I didn't do the score at all. Um, but yeah, the musician actually uh, lives in Prague, actually,
ah,
and there were some music was produced by a lot of the music was produced by a woman, by two main artists. So a lot of the songs that you're hearing, there's a ton of songs.
yes.
A lot of songs that you're hearing were produced by a woman. Some of them were produced by a woman who goes by Patchwork Guilt, and then the other was produced by a brother out of Miami, Deuce Williams. And those two songs sort of shape the atmosphere, but that tone you're talking about is what is by an artist out in Prague. And we go back and forth via email and Zoom, and he created that sort of uh, those few chords. But you're right; they come up and they kind of give you an insight as to what's inside of Liam.
Melancholy. It's melancholy and very
Yeah,
beautiful.
yeah.
No, it's another good choice that you made with the film. Um, Tell us about the other films you've made. When I went to your website, I saw all of these other
Hmm.
films that you were associated with, you directed, and it's quite a body of work.
Yeah, yeah. I woke up one day and I was like, wait, I've actually, I've actually done a couple things.
Yeah, right.
Um, yeah, I've done kind of my calling card film is a film I did a few years ago called Last Night,
Mhm.
and that was if you're if you're a romantic movie kind of person, or if you're a DC
Ah,
uh, person, you'll really love Last Night. I love it even more now because a lot of the places that it's about these two people that meet and they kind of spend the day together and in DC, and
ah,
they form a relationship during that time. And a lot of the places that we went in and experienced and walked past, some of those places don't even exist anymore. So it's a bit of it feels a little bit more like a piece of history now
mhm.
that some time has passed, as well as a good movie. And you can watch that on Amazon or Tubi. Those are the two main places you can find it. It's called Last Night, starring a really good actor, some couple of really good actors. A woman named Judy Johnson, or an exceptional actor named Danny Gavigan, who's also
Hmm.
out of the area, and a actor out of New York named Benton Green. Um, and they were all great in the film. And then I've done a few more films. I did a movie called The Meek. I produced a comedy special for a DC comedian, produced and directed a comedy special for a DC comedian named Rob Gordon, who's who's funny. That's called Rob Gordon Problematic. You can find that on Tubi as well. And then I did the film that I did before Liam White, is a film called Unarmed Man, and that was a cop drama starring actually Sean Woodland as well, and Danny Gavigan, and they were just brilliant in the film. You know, it's a political excuse me, a political cop drama, and if that's something you're into, check it out on Tubi TV. It's called Unarmed Man, and it did extremely well. It's a really strong piece. If anything, just watch it to see Sean Woodland and Danny Gavigan sort of play tennis, and with it's just a wonderful film to watch. Yeah.
So if you were going to give some advice to a young person here in DC, going to school, wanting to be a filmmaker, wanting to make it work for them the way it has worked for you, what a couple of pointers that you would give them?
There's a lot of things I did. I in hindsight, you know, maybe I should have did less of, or not done at all. But the biggest piece of information I can give is, I don't want to say just do it, because everybody says that. Everybody says just go out and make a movie, just go out and make a movie. That's not exactly, that's good advice. It's not exactly the best advice, because I did that. The best advice I can give you is to capitalize on every single opportunity, no matter how small it is. If someone offers you to do something, you don't have the resume, you don't have anything, do it. And then take that thing and market it and push it and capitalize it and get the next thing, and then get the next thing, and then get the next thing. Don't think of it as, oh, this film right here, this is going to change my life. You don't know what's going to change your life. People have taken side jobs to do a commercial while they're trying to create their baby, and then that job is the one that takes them over the top, and then you forget about the script that they thought was going to be the best thing they ever done, because now they're in a different space. So the biggest thing that I would tell a young filmmaker is to be smart and to capitalize on every single opportunity, especially now where social media is important. You know, I'm at a stage where sort of the energy it takes to not make a film and to do social media and stuff can be exhausting to me. I can stay up 20 hours actually making a film and writing a film and talking about movies. But when you want me to pose for a picture and tell you about this new thing and do all that, my energy sort of dips. It's not necessarily for me. But if you know, these younger guys, man, they have the energy for it. So do it all, capitalize on everything, and make smart decisions that advance you at every turn. Try not to get stuck in one space.
And it's the last question. A lot of people are going to see your film through our film fest. What do you want your audience to take away from your film?
You know, my biggest goal when making a film, and I sort of crystallized it over the years I've been working and trying to find my voice and do this thing. What I really want to do is to do what film is supposed to do, which is transport. It's supposed to give you a brief reprieve from life, right? So I want to transport you to a different place for, even if it's for that hour and a half. I want you to go somewhere else with these people and kind of be put under a spell and be taken away from all your stuff and be freed from all that and just experience these other people's lives. I think this film does that. I think even though it's a character film and it's about relationships and that's kind of thing, I think there's enough humor and enough introspection and even just flat out things that are interesting to talk about or think about, that it takes you on a ride. And that's the most important thing, is to take people on a ride for that brief period of time that I have them, and have them stay locked into the film. So hopefully that's the experience that they have. You know, I love the film. It's definitely the strongest film I've made so far. I hope people feel the same way. And I'd love to, if you can find me online, I'd love to, once you see it, just to tell me how you feel about it. Like it, love it, you know, hate it, whatever. So I'm interested in knowing what people think, and then, you know, internalizing that. And some of it I'll take and move to the next stage of life with, and some of it I'll throw in the trash and not listen to. But it's you know, it's all about growth.
Well, Harold, I want to thank you for allowing us to include your film in this year's Filmfest DC. You've had a bright past, and I'm sure your future is going to be even brighter. So my only request for you is when you finish your next film, please send it along to us so we can get a shot at putting it in our next festival.
I will. You guys have been really gracious, and so I'm happy. This is my first time being in the festival, so hopefully our relationship can continue to grow, and then, you know, once the world straightens out, we can actually do something together, face to face, in a theater.
Yeah, lunch, man. So we can do. We can grab a meal, you know, and chat.
Yeah, something as simple as grabbing a meal and having a cup of coffee.
Yeah, that'd be fine. That'd be great. That'd be a pleasure. You take care. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
And I look forward to seeing you next time and learning all about your work. Thank you, man. You take care.
Appreciate it.